Alright, hey guys, how you doing? It's been a while since I've done a video, so I thought it's about time that I did one, because a few people have been asking what's going on as individuals, so rather than keep repeating myself, which I don't really mind, do a quick video and let you know what's been going on. So the last time I left you, I was riding my bike and I was leaving the Waitangi Cancer Centre, and we were talking about at that time going to Melbourne to go to the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre and have some surgery done, an APR. I think it's abdominal perineal resection. Remove your bowel, remove your backside, sew everything up, give myself a colostomy. Now, it's actually happened. Well, a bit more than it's happened. I've been really, really busy. Right, so what happened? On the 7th of August, Kylie and I flew to Melbourne. We were lucky enough to get in the service department 3 blocks away from the hospital, from the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre. And we went there on a Saturday night, Sunday day off. Monday I had an appointment with the anaesthetist, and Tuesday I had a flexi-sigmoid meeting with the surgeon, stoma nurse, urologist, and then Wednesday I had another meeting. I think that was with the surgeon again as well. And then Thursday we had the procedure. Okay, so I had my operation. Now, when I went to see my psychiatrist about this afterwards, I said to her, she said, "How did you feel?" I had to go, and I said, well, if I was to describe it in one word, I'd have to say traumatic. And there's no reflection on people that work there. The nurses were brilliant, doctors, surgeons, all the way, including the staff bringing meals and doing cleaning. They're all brilliant. So nothing to do with him whatsoever. It was just a procedure, and then the continuation of different treatments as I was going through recovery at the hospital. I think I have become less tolerant of these types of procedures. And yeah, it was pretty nasty. So what happened during the procedure? Alright, the procedure itself. I'm going for an APR, but when they opened me up, it took about 2 hours to get me open fully and to get all the scarring tissue up. They found problems with my bladder and prostate. So we had talked prior to going in there, and just as well we did, about making sure that we get the best outcomes possible. So if we found any other issues, we would deal with it right then and there if it was possible to do so. And that's why I went to Peter Mac, because it is possible. They've got urologists, vascular surgeons, surgeons that are dealing with prostate. I mean, there's all number of different types of surgeons here for different cancers. And they all gather around Thursday. They're all available to help out on Thursday. So that's why I had the procedure on Thursday. So the procedure changed from an APR to what they call a TPE, total pelvic extenturation. And that is when they remove all the organs out of your pelvic area. So they looked at the bladder. They saw that was adversely impacted by the scarring tissue, and there was a belief that I would have ended up with kidney failure, which would have killed me if they did not remove my bladder. And when I look at my previous scans around that area, it noted in the report that there was a backlog and build-up of fluid in the right kidney. And I remember, it's my stoma. I remember prior to going there that I actually had a kidney infection, and that's what caused it. So the process of shutting down, affecting my kidneys had already begun before I went to Melbourne. So it's just as well I went to Peter MacCallum, and got the work done. Another issue, they saw some spots on the bladder, which were a bit suspicious. So urologist was called in, and while they're working on my bowel, the urologist is in there removing my bladder and creating urostomy. Okay. When he removed the bladder, underneath the bladder is where the prostate sits. They looked at the prostate, thickened walls, slightly enlarged, and some spots. So a decision was made to remove the prostate as well. So prostate, bladder, and bowel removed from the sigmoid down to the rectum and anus. So I've been sewn up at the back, and I'm currently sitting on a gel seat because my backside is still sore. It's a bit achy. Okay. So yeah, that was what happened there. It took about 9 to 9.5 hours, we reckon, and woke up in ICU in Melbourne, rural Melbourne. They thought I'd be in there for about 3 days. I was only in there overnight, back on the ward next morning, which was lucky. It was quite horrific waking up when I woke up in ICU, because that's when I felt down. I felt, oh, okay, so I've got 2 stoma bags on me now. So that was the realization that they had removed my bladder and possibly my prostate, which I needed to be confirmed by a doctor. But they gave me the colostomy because they removed my bowel, and that's the one I wanted. And then because of the bladder and prostate issues, they removed those and they gave me a urostomy. So my bladder is now on the outside of my body, as is my colostomy. So I've got 2 bags hanging off my stomach. So that was a bit scary. And then turning my head and something's flapping me in the face. I'm trying to remember what side it was on. I think it might have been that side. There's a little dot on my neck where they had a tube running in one of my veins and top of my heart, and there's a whole branch of different tubes coming off that, and everything's flapping against my face. And I thought, what's going on here? I had drains coming out my abdomen, a couple of big drains full of blood, and 2 bags hanging off me, cannulas or catheters, coming out of me all over the place. Yeah, so it just wasn't very nice. I struggled with that. Okay. What else? I got out of there, went to the ward. My stomach wasn't working, so they had to put a nasal gastric line in my stomach. So I went through the nose, back of the throat, and down to the stomach. And it was naturally aspirating, but it didn't always do it on its own. So a nurse had to come in every 4 hours and put a big syringe on there, suck out the contents of my stomach. And that was on there for almost 2 weeks, the 2 weeks that I was there. That was horrific. I mean, that's why I currently at the moment I gag whenever I eat something that's too big to eat, swallowing pills. Yeah, it's just that throwback to that. Nasty. What was traumatic about it? All those things. When they went to pull out one of the drains, both the drains actually, they did them on separate days. The first one, the nurse there, she was a little bit experienced. She hadn't struck the problems that she had with my drain. So there's tubes, big tubes in your stomach, just poke through, and they are draining blood, reading out the fluid that is created in there. But they had to come out eventually, and all they do is just pull them out. No anesthetic or anything like that. And the nurse couldn't pull them out. She's pulling that taking it. Oh, I'm going to hurt you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's okay. And so she went away and got a more experienced nurse. And this little nurse, she was quite small, and she's almost at the point of getting her knee up on my stomach so she could pull with both hands. That's how tough it was to pull out. But she managed to just push with one hand and then pull with the other, and come out. And whoa, oh yeah, it was nasty. My room was like a abattoir when she finished, because when she pulled it out like this, it come flying out. And I felt the vacuum, and I'm like, oh, you know, and come flying out. Went spraying everywhere. Blood comes spraying out again. Splattered all over the nurse beside me, all over me, and all over the floor and on the window, and which had to all be cleaned up. But that was pretty horrific, and that had to be done twice. The other one got taken out the next day. So yeah, pretty shocking. Had to have the PICC line put in. So mark there, line put in there, upper vein, down in my chest, and then down into the top of my heart. The reason was because my stomach wasn't working. That's why I had the nasal gastro line in, and I had to get all my nutrition from a bag. They call it TPN, Total Parental Nutrition, and it was aimed at me, so my size, my weight, and so on, build and so on. And it worked pretty well. I actually only lost 5 kilo during my 2.5 weeks in the hospital. So it was keeping me fit, you know, because everything I was drinking was just going straight in my stomach and going up and shooting back out into a bag on the floor. When my stomach did eventually work, you know, we'd take the tube out, but I had a couple of days of spewing up as, you know, they had to adjust. My stomach was small, had shrunk quite a bit, and my gastrointestinal system just couldn't take the volume of food I used to eat. So I spent a couple of days spewing up, but managed to get on top of it just by reducing how much I ate and drank. But that then, of course, meant that I wasn't keeping up with my nutrition and I was losing weight. So when I left hospital, I lost 9 kilo. So I've lost a total of 14 kilos since I left hospital, since the operation. So yeah, not good. Not good at all. It's since stabilised, so 103, 104. So that's good. I'm getting enough nutrition now. Okay, so yeah. And other things like I was getting poked and prodded, jabbed every day, multiple times. The bandages ripped off, new ones put on. It was just, yeah, it was just horrific. Didn't enjoy my time there at all. Another thing was I got exposed to a person while I was getting the PICC line in who had been in a hotspot, COVID hotspot, and so I had to be isolated. Wasn't so bad. I got my own room with quite a good view. And the other thing that happened that was bad about it was our floor at Peter Mac is linked to Royal Melbourne with an air bridge, and Royal Melbourne got a whole lot of COVID cases. So because of that, my ward became isolated, and Kylie was no longer allowed to visit me for the last week and a half, which really sucked. So that's why we talked about it on the phone and made the decision, rather than, because I've been in this position before with COVID, I thought, nah, wait a this. I'm not going to let this get me down. Let's turn this into a positive. This is now the driver to get out of hospital and to get back to Kylie and back to the apartment. And then the next one after that is to get our good to go passes and get back home to Perth. And that's what I managed to do. Yeah, I won't say too much, but yeah, I put on a brave face when all the doctors come around. Let's just put that out there. Problems with nutrition. You know, I talked about losing all that weight. Almost ended up back in hospital the day I left. Quite a bad hypoglycemic episode where I hadn't eaten lunch, hadn't eaten dinner. I walked home from the hospital when I was discharged and got the shakes. I couldn't control my breathing. Heart rate was going 100 miles an hour. I had a fever. Took me a while, but I put 2 and 2 together and worked out what it was. It was hypoglycemic, so got Kylie to make me a protein shake because we didn't have much in the fridge there at that time. Although I'd say the very next day, Kylie shot down to the shop and got a big bag of lollies and kept that next to the bed, just in case I had anything. Which I did back in Perth, by the way. But we were onto it straight away. Took some Panadol because I had a fever, so you know, I was hoping to break the fever. But once I started eating and drinking, what felt like half an hour, the episode started to wane a bit and get back to Mm. So yeah, that was our time in Melbourne. The cough, not COVID. The cough is because my lung is partially collapsed. Oh, I've had a lot of appointments since I've been back. Seen oncologists. I start chemo next week or the week after. Right. So another chemo campaign. I've seen physio, try and get this lung back and start some exercise. Dietitians, we're talking to them. Saw my Perth surgeon yesterday. First thing she said to me, "You look a bit pale." Oh, yeah. She said, "I bet you're really tired, eh?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm really tired. Like, I'm tired now, holding my weight up, talking to you on the camera." And she goes, "We better get your bloods done. You look like you're anemic. We need to give you a blood iron transfer." So that's what we're planning to do. So I've had my bloods done yesterday. Get the results today, and I'll decide if I need one of those, then I'll give me a call and arrange it. And yeah, I got the X-ray on my lung yesterday because I was concerned about that. So it's slightly collapsed. I'll see if I can find some pictures as well of my stomas so I can see what's happened. Nasal gastro tube. I was hooked up to something right up until 10 minutes before being discharged. That's how bad it was. I was really jealous of all these people walking around doing their laps of the hospital without being connected to anything. I was, right up to the time I left, I'm having to drag this big stand with the machine on it. But I managed to get everything off and discharged and back to Kylie. So yeah, nasty. I don't know what the date is, haven't got my phone on me, but on the 19th of September, I should have been celebrating 2 years fighting this. So didn't feel like celebrating on that day. I might do something maybe this weekend, who knows, we'll see. But why 2 years? Because initially, when I was diagnosed with this, the oncologist said, "Look, we're looking at 3 years life expectancy based on past history knowledge." Okay, cool. And when we discovered that I had a lesion in my liver that was cancerous, then he cut it down to 2 years. So 2 years wasn't my first goal, which I've got to. My next goal is 3 years. Beyond that, 5 years, and then beyond that again, 10 years. And you might be sitting there going, "Oh, you made it, you kicked ass." Oh, geez. I was so close to being going the other way. It wasn't funny. We now realise there was cancer in my bladder, there was cancer in my prostate. The cancer was spreading through my bowel, and my kidneys were being affected. So that 2 to 3 year period that was mentioned by an oncologist was actually quite a realistic outcome or time frame if I hadn't had the treatments I've had and the surgery I've had. Had I not had any of that, I would be in quite a poor state right now. But I've had them, and good news is, my prognosis has gotten better due to surgery because the surgeon said that we got it all. And I'm like, "Well, how can you say that?" He said, "Yeah, I got it all." He didn't say, "I believe we got it all." He didn't say, "I think I got it all." He said, "We got it all." And the reason is they send all my bits to the pathology, and they assay it all and find out what's going on. And they found out that they did get it all. And there were clear margins. So a margin is the area between cancer and no cancer, and when they chop it. Okay, so that's called the margin. So there were clear margins on everything. So all the cancer was contained within the bits that were cut out of me, which is really good news, right? Now, the other thing was that he also biopsied around the areas where the cancer was, and there was no cancer in those areas. So yeah, that's why he could say he got it all. A couple of the margins were very, very small. We're talking millimeters. So therefore, that's why I'm getting the chemo. If they had been big margins and extra clear, then may not have needed the chemo. But yeah, I just life, I guess. I'm just dreading that. I haven't even recovered from surgery, and I'm now about to go and have chemotherapy and feel absolutely rotten. But once I get through the recovery and then through the chemo, then I should be allowed to then get back to normal, and then we'll do probably 3 monthly scans to see what's going on and whether or not I need more chemo. There'll probably be some sort of maintenance chemo, but we'll see. Yeah, so that's good news. So that gives me, I asked about it, and the surgeon said, without those margins, 40% chance of you being cured. With those margins, it goes up to 50% of the primary cancer being cured. So primary, we're talking bowel cancer in the pelvic area, around the bowel. Remembering I've already had cancer in the liver on that, a spread there. So cancer could recur, 50% chance cancer could recur back in the pelvic area and in the bowel. And there's always a chance that secondary, tertiary cancers in the liver, lungs, bones over time. So only time will tell. But what it's done is it has definitely given me a lot more time. Okay, so that's what I've been hoping for. Cool. So that's what happened. Yeah, it's good to be back home in Perth. Very good. We almost didn't make it. We got our good to go past 10 minutes after applying for this. I was like, yeah, and bought our tickets to the plane and got to the airport. I asked for a wheelchair. I didn't realise you meant to prove what it is and get medical information. And the Qantas lady said, "Oh, well, what's wrong?" I said, "Well, I told her what happened." She said, "Have you got a medical certificate for flight?" No. So they were actually really seriously considering not allowing us to get on the plane. Anyway, so Kylie and I were both quite humiliated by the whole experience from the Qantas staff on the ground, because they made it. We're trying to work out whether we're lying or not, and because I didn't have a medical pass, but my doctors knew that the surgeons knew I was flying home, so I'm sure if there was a problem, they would have said something. So there was no problem. They said, "Here you go, give you an opportunity to go back to Perth, jump on that plane and go." So that's what we did. So yeah, but it was just a way that they handled it. They separated Kylie and I in different interviews with us, finding out what's going on, and are you sure? Are you sure you have to fly over? So as soon as they gave us a clearance, Kylie and I, I was in the chair. They gave me a wheelchair. Stuff that chair, we're off. We're not going to give them any excuse now to stop me from getting on this plane. So got on the plane. When I was about to get off the plane, they were like, "Mr. Leekman, do you need a wheelchair?" No, I do not need a wheelchair. And so I hobbled off the plane, hanging onto the rails real tight, because I wasn't giving them any excuse to give me any problem. Just get off the plane. And got our G2G pass checked, did our COVID test, and got out of the airport and got home. And Kylie was just an absolute trooper. She was carrying all the bags. All these people looking at me like, "What are you doing, man? You're leaving your missus to carry all the bags, But I just didn't know. I just couldn't do anything. But I could barely walk actually at that time. I was getting ready to spew up. I remember saying to Kylie when I was leaving the airport, I don't know how I did that because I was really struggling. I was about to throw up, about to fall over, and I'm in good shape at all. But yeah, we made it home, so that was good. Oh, I guess what else? Oh, I'm going to do, now that I'm recovering, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm going to do one of those challenges that you see on Facebook. So actually, this is all I'm wearing. This arrived for me finally, just before I left. Mount Fuji challenge, you know. So and Mount Fuji ship, yeah. So what it was you got to walk a certain or ride or cycle, swim, whatever, a certain distance, and the distance is the same distance up the side of Mount Fuji, which was 74 kilometres around and up the side. So I gave myself 28 days to do this. I've got a route out here that takes me 5.5k, and I gave myself 28 days. I managed to get it done in 27 days. The last day I had to do 9k to finish it off. I was getting a bit slack, but finally did it. And what it did for me was keep me mobile, keep me moving, and it allowed me to lose some weight before going into surgery. I lost about 5 kilo just by doing that. So I'm going to do another one, not as big as that though, because I'm really quite tired. I'll do one that's probably half the distance. There are ones that are about 21 kilometres or 30 kilometres. I might think about doing one of those over, probably give myself 14 days to do it. We'll see how we go. Cool. All right. So that's what's been happening. Been quite busy. And you know, it was quite traumatic. I'm through the other side though. Yesterday was a good day for me. Yesterday I felt normal for about 2 seconds. I was talking to my psychiatrist before I went, how good I felt, and mentally and physically. Yesterday I had a couple of bursts of that same feeling for about a couple of seconds, and it went away. But it's really good that I'm feeling that way. Those will hopefully return and get better and better, and I'll feel more energetic and so forth. All right. What else? Oh, the colostomy. That's what I really wanted. I can't show you here, but I'll see if I can get some pictures and show you what they're like. They cut your bowel off at a certain point, where it may be. For me, it was above the sigmoid, down bottom of the descending colon, and then they cut out your backside, sew it up. So the backside looks a little bit different now as well. It looks like, been explained by the surgeon, it looks like Barbie's bum. So it doesn't really have a big crack in it anymore. I don't have the tradies crack anymore. I got nowhere to put my spare change. But that's what she said, it looks like Barbie's bum. So it's been the middle of it cut out and sewn together. Okay, sewn closer together. And then the end of the bowel is a hole cut in my abdomen, and then it's pushed out through that hole, inverted on itself, and then sewn to my outside of my abdomen. And those stitches will eventually dissolve and go away, end up in the bag. The urostomy is an interesting one. It's the one I'm struggling with. Just changing the base plate all the time, because it runs continuously. There's no control of it whatsoever. My colostomy is different than that. It's like clockwork every day, about 10 o'clock, fills up my bag, nothing else for the rest of the day. The urostomy just keeps on filling. I can slow it down a little bit by not drinking, but then I get dehydrated. Okay. So how they make that is obviously they cut your bladder out. They cut a segment of your small intestine out, and obviously rejoin the bits that are left, and so that you've got your small intestine still working. And then they take the 2 tubes, one from each kidney, and they put them in the conduit, and the conduit gets pushed through a hole in the abdomen, inverted on itself, and sewn to the outside of your abdomen. So your urine that ends up in my urostomy bag is coming direct from the kidneys to the outside. I originally had stents in there, but after about 10 days in hospital, they took those out after the stitches. All their stitches holding it into my kidney. Once those stitches let go, they pulled them out. They come out not too bad, not as bad as the last lot. So yeah, that's how they make the urostomy and the colostomy. And both of them, as much as of a pain as they are, they've saved my life. They allow me to keep going for longer. So that's cool. Yeah. What else? Well, that's it. That's really all that's been happening. So I'll leave you to it, and we'll no doubt speak again. I'll see how we go maybe during the chemo, see how I'm feeling during that. Cool. All right. We'll catch you later. Peru.